Welcome, Mike. How you doing?
Good, Russ. How are you today?
Good, good, good. So, so let's hear about your background because I know you got some military background as well.
Yep, yep. I was in the Air Force for 23 years and I started out doing engineering. Then I moved into project management or kind of called program management more than project management back then. And then when I was done from there, I went over to industry in BA systems, worked aerospace and defense work, and then a couple other companies until now I ended up at a really wonderful company called Connection doing IT work.
Awesome. What'd you do in the Air Force?
Well, I went in to be a pilot. I ended up having the opportunity, but I had a recurring ear infection, so that sort of shut
Yeah.
shut the door on that. So when I was done there, then I just went into what they call the aero engineering field, whatever the code was, 2855, 2825 kind of thing, and mostly did engineering for aircraft systems and weapon systems, and then kind of worked into the project management field. I noticed that more people were getting promoted to colonels and everything if they were in the PM field than they were if they were in the engineering field. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna see if I can switch this over. So after a good career, it was time to do industry stuff.
Okay. Were you ever out at Nellis Air Force Base?
Never was a lot of
Oh,
other places, but never went to Nellis. No.
nah. I happened to be, one of the, you know, what was it? There's 15 Marines stationed on that base. I
Yep.
was a logistics guy, but
Uh-huh.
uh, I was in charge of the reserve unit there. So just thought
Yeah.
the Air Force. That's my connection with the Air Force.
No, I
So
got I got out to Edwards and a Navy base called Point Magoo and Los Angeles Air Station back then, and McCord up in Washington. A lot of other places, but not there.
okay. So so yeah, so you got a pretty long career in project management,
Yeah, yeah,
is what
and
you said.
I've enjoyed it more every year, I think, than the year before.
All right, then. So what was it then about Pure when you first heard about it that made you think, all right, this is something worth my time then?
Well, I had a PMP for many, many years, and I know the value of that. Then I think it was on LinkedIn, I started seeing information about this thing called Pure, and it piqued my interest. Um, I, to me, I thought it's like, hey, here's the new credential in town, and what's it all about? So I started studying it, and things like approaching projects from the real world view, the tools and techniques that project managers are going to use on projects in real life. And it struck a chord with me because I remember kind of the way I studied for PMP was a little different, and both are extremely valuable. So what drew me to that is here's a different way to approach project management. I was interested because it had just launched somewhere, I think in January of 2025, and
Yep.
already it was ready to go. And when I looked at information about the curriculum and the costs and everything, it just seemed like a perfect credential to get to learn so much. And I would say other folks ought to look really seriously at it.
No, yeah, that I mean, we did do a good social media campaign to get the information out
Yeah.
there,
Yep.
and as an instructor, it was great to be able to also, like what you said, seeing the real world applicability across
Hmm.
from everybody else.
Right. Right.
Because hearing everyone else's opinion, the way they work through problems, to me was a good time.
Yeah. It's a way to see something taught to you and go by people who have actually been involved in that problem
Yeah.
solving, or that topic, and go, that's how they did that. That's interesting because in a past job I did it a little differently, and you start to see there's more than one way to solve a problem. There's more than one way to run a project, and they're all good when you hit the road and you're trying to get things done. There's different techniques, and that's one of the values from this course is learning that there are different techniques and learning things that other people did, and new
Yeah.
ways to make decisions, new ways to take care of yourself while you're doing your work, new ways to schedule time, different ways that might encompass contractual aspects or stewardship or the sustainability kinds of things, things that if you're stuck sort of in one path, you may have never been introduced to these before, and now you've
Right.
got
Yeah.
them right in front of
Exactly.
you. Yeah,
No, I completely agree because, we learn from our own experiences, but you can learn more from other people's experiences if
hmm
you're willing to listen. And I think
yeah,
this course gave you a chance to do that.
yeah, absolutely, it did, and it actually made me reflect on things where I might have said, well, when I hit a situation like that, I did it this way. But now I see there was probably a better way I could have done it, or a better way I could have
Yeah.
reacted to it, or a better way I could have planned proactively for it.
No, yeah. I definitely agree. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I think we do that a lot in life too.
yeah, exactly.
So throughout the course, then what was the moment for you? Like the light bulb clicked off and you're like, or clicked on, and
hmm
you're just like, and this is actually, this program's actually, it's going to be impactful for not just me, but for other people who take it.
Right, right. Um, I think it was when I took the first free hour because it was such a good overview of how you guys are going to approach the subject material, and the fact that there are so many different instructors with so many different discipline areas with so much experience that are going to
Hmm.
bring themselves to these courses. Um, the fact that you were really upfront and honest about how much time and investment and money it's going to take, and knowing that, I mean, that data was there and I could make a decision that, yeah, I want to do this. Um, so I think it was when I did that first free PDU, because it's at that point that you pretty much know everything you need to know about the course. And when you get into it, you go, yep, that was truth right up front.
Yeah. So the 60 PDU, is that where you're getting at? Like kind
hmm
of intimidating people?
Um, it could be seen as intimidation, like that's a lot. It also could be like, wow, that's a lot. I mean, look what I'm going
Yeah.
to get out of this. It's not just like a couple of webinars. There's 60 PDUs here that I can get, and PDUs are, for the most part, they're always valuable. You don't. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
hard to find bad content and call it worth doing it as a PDU, because if it's bad, you're not going to do it. But the stuff that's in this course, the 60 PDUs, I found very useful.
Okay. So then I guess, you took that first free hour. What
Mhm.
were your expectations then going into it? Like, do you think that was exceeded or was it challenged? Because obviously you're like, okay, I'm gonna sign up for this. But
Right.
did it meet the expectations what you were expecting?
Yeah, it did. Probably a little bit more than I thought it was going to be, in terms of meeting expectations. For one thing, you guys do lay out the curriculum topics up front. You might have to look for it on a page or two on the website, but it's clearly there. So if you aren't sure what you're going to get, there's a PDF that you guys provide that tells people these are
Hmm.
the topics. Um, when I got into it after that 1 hour, I said, okay, well, I'm signed up here. Here we go. I looked at the fact that you guys do have a community that people can ask questions and get answers. I found that you have a good look and feel through the whole course. I want to say pleasing to the eye, but I mean it was a good place to be with your mind and your eyes, seeing the branding and seeing the people. And the one thing about the instructors, they all come from different walks of life, and they all have different settings. So you guys are not in a big studio, but you know what? That makes it more real. There's a cohesive feel to the course. And when I got into it, I thought, okay, each one of them, you can see the way it's laid out with the panels of course names and everything, um, what the topic's going to be. So you set your mind right away on this. And just like anything in real life, there's a couple of topics you
Okay.
may go, well, for me, this is going to be a little challenge to get through it. But I'd say the vast majority of them super excited to jump into each one.
Was there anyone that surprised you that was, in a good or
Mm,
constructive way? Like
yeah,
you're just like, wow, I wasn't even thinking about this.
yeah. I think that seeing things on the stewardship, the procurement, the negotiation strategies, the self-care. Um, I thought there was going to be more about initiate, plan, execute, control, closing,
Yeah,
that kind of thing. A little bit, a little bit of the PMP world in there. But I found topics that in subjects within the topics of the course, terminologies like the Pomodoro technique, the Eisenhower decision matrix, things like that either I'd heard of or I hadn't used in so long, or when I heard them the first time, I was like, that's a good technique, but I don't know how I'll ever use that. And now after years and years of doing PM work, all of a sudden you see that and say, that's what that's called. Okay, well, I did that. And it's a good refresher that way.
is there anything you did take away and start using?
Yeah, a lot of the risk stuff I took away. I've always been fascinated by risk management, and in fact, probably in the last year, because I started early in the year to do this course, I've looked at things with more of a risk management attitude. And sometimes I can drive myself crazy. It's not like, well, what kind of traffic am I going to hit today? And should I bring road flares and all that? But it's more like how to see something coming up in your project that you would have thought, well, yeah, of course that could happen. It's not the meteor's going to hit the earth,
Oh yeah,
level, but it's more like, okay, maybe an engineer is going to be sick with COVID or something. And do we have the backups? Do we know where to get the backups? Have we talked to the people who may know where to get the backups? That kind of thing. So I found that useful. I found the risk one. Contracts and negotiations. I've been in those kinds of events before, so it was a good refresher to see the terminology. The fixed price, the T&M, the CP, cost plus kinds of things. But to know that that stuff is still out there, even though you may not be touching it these days, to see that kind of stuff out there is it's encouraging, and it inspires you to take the things that you learn and go apply it, because there's so much that you guys offer up, that there's so much that you can apply and try things differently and maybe get a success that you were having trouble getting a success with.
yeah. I think that's the great thing about having so many instructors too, is you get
Hmm.
that look from so many different angles to where,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe you don't get with Russ, what Russ was talking about,
Hmm.
but you'll get something from somebody else. But
Right.
like you said, like
Exactly.
you're not going to get it all, but
Hmm.
you're gonna pull something out.
Yeah, exactly. And if maybe Russ, you took a topic and you talked about it this way, and I didn't quite get it. Many topics surface again with a different instructor.
Sure, yeah.
And then all of a sudden you go, oh, I see what they were talking about before. So the fact that you have so many different instructors is such a value to the course.
Yeah. All right. And so going on, like, so one of my programs obviously was the military piece,
Hmm.
kind of giving a education on the military side and what
Right.
you can take away from, things that you and I experienced.
Hmm.
So for that one, being so much different from everybody else
Hmm.
and your background with the military, I guess, what was your kind of thoughts around that one? Like, you
Yeah.
know, how is it something that anyone without the military experience can take some good lessons away?
Yeah, I think anybody who hasn't been in the military and takes the courses that touched on military stuff can start to see that military isn't all about just taking orders and saying, yes, I can do that, and just moving on. Um, Military, there's a business side to military too. And part of the value of
Hmm.
this peer course is that you instructors like yourself will go ahead and talk about this is really project management. This is what I did in the military, but this is really project management. And I know that there's another instructor in the course that kind of specializes in taking folks that are transitioning out of the military and trying to help them understand how to become the project managers. And it's not like some sort of big transformation you got to make. There's a bit of transformation, but you already have the skills. And there's some thoughts that if you've planned anything in your life and you've planned it well and executed it well, you've got a basic background on PM work and what it's all about. So, seeing the stuff about the military, that really resonated with me because a lot of what I did in the military was project management related stuff. And you really, you have to know budget, you have to know contract negotiation, you have to know source selection, contract types, you have to know how to deal with teams. And again, the business aspect of it is all the concept of stakeholders and servant leadership and that kind of thing. It's not like boot camp that, a lot of people will have that reservation that, well, if you just got out of the military, you're really not going to be a good fit because all you know how to do is take orders. It just doesn't work that way. So having seen the kind of stuff like you presented from the military side, I could resonate, Air Force side too. It was really an enjoyable bunch of information to get both sides of it like that.
No, I completely agree. I mean, that's why I also try to pull a lot of the joint planning process out
Hmm.
of it, just
Yeah,
because I didn't want it to get so tailored into the Marine Corps,
right.
just because, yeah, like all the services really were interconnected in multiple ways that
Yeah,
a lot of people wouldn't know. And then, like you said, the boot camp piece,
yeah.
I think a lot of people have that view of just either boot camp or movies. And
Mhm,
that's
exactly.
that's who you see in the movies, so
Yeah.
that's their image when they don't see like we, especially as officers and senior enlisted, you're
Hmm.
working in very, almost corporate type environments, especially with
Yeah.
these planning, you
Yep.
know. So, all right, so oh, go on.
Well, no, I was just going to say, one of the things I did at the end of my career was I was in um, a modeling and simulation joint program
Yeah,
office down in Florida, and to be able to work with people in a business-like way from all the services to build something. It's like you can't you couldn't you probably couldn't do it if it was just going to be top-down leadership saying go do this, go do this. I mean, everybody brings a skill to the
yeah,
table. Everybody knows what the user requirements are from different services that have to be there. It's a way to succeed, and there's so much joint work going on that people don't necessarily even realize. So yeah, it's good that you would
yeah,
bring that kind of stuff into the stuff you taught too.
yeah. That was kind of like one of my goals. It's like I
Yeah,
wanted to teach, but also
yeah,
show that there's a different side that you probably don't get to see
right.
most of the time.
Yep, yep.
All right, so I guess for you then, who would you recommend the pure PM program for? Like if you're like, is it for PMPs for someone before they get their PMP? Because I know we kind of talked about this, earlier
Hmm.
about, the program being a lot of people, but who would you recommend it for?
Yeah, I would recommend it for two groups, I think. One would be the person who has the PMP, who really enjoys project management and wants to, I guess, expand their horizon on credentialed courses that teach you from a different angle and educate you from a different angle than what you may have felt like in PMP. I think maybe there's a little bit of a downside only because you're new, and I don't think that should be a detractor to anybody because having a
Mhm.
PMP and then going through and getting the pure PM, I can see a value to both. So it'd be one, somebody who's got the PMP. Two, somebody who wants to do the PMP but maybe is thinking of CAPM instead because it's sort of an intro
Yeah,
credential. Doing PM or doing doing pure PM instead might be a really good move. And then I try to do a lot of mentoring with aspiring project managers. And a lot of times they'll ask me, what is it that I should do to get, smarter and educated? And I always tell them, well, there's certainly the kind of gold standard that everybody knows called PMP. But if you're not ready for that, CAPA might be the way to go. But then when I started hearing about pure PM, I think I would recommend that to them because there's so much relatable material in pure PM that I think aspiring project managers and maybe even early career project managers would benefit from. So I would advise no one to sell it short because it's new. It is a very competitive credential, and it's going to become more and more known. And I'm proud to put it after my name when I put my signature block on emails.
That's it. I mean, you're one of the first, I think, out there. So you
Yeah,
got into it early, which is
yeah,
good.
excited to do that.
All right. So, coming up on time here, but any final words you would have for someone who's thinking about jumping into this, but they're stuck. They're not sure about it.
Yeah. Um, there's a lot to gain and there's little risk. And I say that because if you're even piqued by the first free PDU that Pure gives people, that's really an overview course, and you get the PDU. There's no obligation, but at the end of that, you'll have a feel for whether you want to try it. And because of the fact that you guys are upfront and honest about no trick questions, um, and I can attest to that. The fact that there's 1 year to take it, you get one retake, um, and the price point is really good. I would say that, nothing ventured, nothing gained. And I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised at how much you're exposed to. And you don't have to let it take a year. In fact, I would advise anybody who's going to take it, um, don't lose the momentum. Don't kill yourself over it because you've got plenty of time, but don't lose the momentum. Try to do a course a week or a course every 2 days if you can. But don't stress out over it. And if you do, watch the one on self-care because that's really good. Um, yeah. So I would just say it's. I guess if you want to jump back to the original question real quick, let me sum that up. You said what did I
Okay,
what?
you just final
Yeah.
some encouragement for someone who's just feeling
Yeah.
stuck or unsure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say if you're feeling stuck, there's no reason to feel stuck. Look at that first course, look at that first free PDU, and you can make a good decision. Look at the website and get a good feel for what they're teaching you. And I think everybody's going to be happy that they did it.
No, and I agree. I think that initial one, even as an instructor, taking that and then jumping into the full course
Right.
was like it really does set the stage. And plus, it's Joe Phillips. I mean, you can't help but love the guy. So,
Yeah, he and that other gentleman that did the one course trade me
yeah,
off other who's going to do the sign-offs.
doesn't. Yeah,
I'll
I
let
think
you
that's the
say
same.
I'll let you say it next time.
Yeah, like you said, everyone has a little thing about them, and it just made everyone relatable. And I loved it about
Right.
it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Mike, it was great talking to you. I know we connected on LinkedIn a while back.
hmm
We've interacted on there, but it's great to actually sit here and talk to you.
Yeah, I feel the same because I got so much joy out of your course and learned so much, and to be able to do this right now is just really a pleasure.
Yeah, likewise. Well, really appreciate it, Mike. And I hope anyone out there, if you're looking at doing pure project manager, give it a shot. Again, there's that free PDU out there to kind of
hmm
take a look at it, and then you can jump into the full course if you feel like this is something for you too.